They say history is written by the victors, but what if the truth was buried with the fallen? Every secret leaves a trace, if you know where to look. This is The Broken Truth, decoding history, one broadcast at a time. The Broken Truth podcast, where history meets conspiracy. Every case tells a story. Every story hides a lie. In the barren heart of northeastern Utah lies a stretch of land unlike any other. Locals say the ground hums. That strange light slice through the sky. That unseen forces tear through the fabric of reality itself. It's called Skinwalker Ranch, 512 acres of dust, cattle, and legend. But behind the folklore lies something far more disturbing. A decades-long trail of government contracts, aerospace tycoons, and classified studies into the unknown. Tonight, we pull back the barbed wire and walk into the most documented paranormal hotspot in America. This is Skinwalker Ranch, the portal between us. You're listening to the Broken Truth podcast, where hidden history, government secrets, and modern myths converge. Each week, we dive into the stories they told you not to question. The ones buried under classified files, redacted reports, and quiet deals made in the dark. I'm your host, Garrett Greene. Tonight, we explore a place where science, folklore, and fear collide. A ranch in Utah that may hold the key to our reality itself. The story begins not with the government, nor with television cameras, but with a family. In 1994, ranchers Terry and Gwen Sherman bought a 480-acre property in the Uintah Basin, hoping for quiet life and open sky. What they found was something else entirely. Within weeks, their livestock began behaving strangely. Massive, perfectly circular sections of grass appeared burned into the ground, and almost nightly, luminous orbs, basketball-sized spheres of blue and orange light danced across the fields. Terry Sherman told local reporters that one orb followed his horse so closely, the animal's legs glowed in silhouette. In one instance, a red orb hovered inches from his dog's head. Moments later, the dogs ran into the woods, barking. When Sherman followed the next morning, all that remained were 3 charred, greasy spots on the ground. Soon, word spread through the Basin. UFO enthusiasts, scientists, journalists, all converged on the isolated ranch. But this was no recent invention. The land had been infamous among the Ute and Navajo peoples for centuries. Long before barbed wire divided the property, the tribes spoke of a malevolent shapeshifter, the naaldlooshii, a witch capable of transforming into animal form. They called these beings skinwalkers. The very ground of the ranch, they warned, was cursed, a liminal place where the supernatural bled into the physical world. To the Navajo, the skinwalker represented imbalance, the perversion of sacred medicine. To the modern mind, it became the perfect metaphor for transformation itself, between species, between worlds, between sanity and delusion. When the Shermans began finding their cattle dead, organs removed with surgical precision, no blood, no tracks, folklore met science. Something was happening on this land, and soon it would attract attention from powerful people far beyond Utah. By the mid-1990s, the Sherman family's ordeal had turned the ranch into a patchwork of inexplicable events. Cattle worth thousands of dollars were found drained of blood. Circular holes, precise as if cut by a laser, appeared in bone and hide. Tire tracks leading to the carcasses vanished after 20 feet, as if whatever arrived had lifted off the ground. Neighbors whispered that the ranch sat on a line of energy. Ley lines, some said, the same type of invisible grid that ancient civilizations built temples upon. Others blamed military craft from nearby Dugway Proving Ground or the secretive test range just south of Salt Lake City. Whatever the cause, nights on the ranch became a theater of impossible light. Terry Sherman described orbs that changed color when approached. One would move with curious intelligence, darting just out of reach like a playful predator. Another glowed bright blue and emitted a crackling that made the hair on his arms stand straight. Each encounter left electromagnetic signatures, drained batteries, fried radios, disturbed compasses, Then came the creatures. One evening, the Shermans spotted a large wolf, or something like one, standing calmly beside their corral. Its shoulders reached Terry's chest. When he fired point blank with his rifle, the creature didn't flinch. A second shot tore away flesh that looked metallic beneath the fur. It turned, unbothered, and trotted into the brush. They followed the tracks for 100 yards until they stopped. Not faded, stopped. As if the animal had vanished into thin air. After that night, the family kept journals. They recorded sounds like heavy machinery buried beneath the soil, flashes of light inside their home, voices in languages they didn't recognize. Gwen Sherman began seeing apparitions, shadow figures standing at her bedside that dissolved when she reached for the lamp. When local paper The Deseret News published their story in 1996, it caught the attention of one of the richest men in Nevada, Robert Bigelow. Bigelow was not a stranger to the unknown. As a Las Vegas real estate and aerospace magnate, he had already founded Bigelow Aerospace, a company building inflatable space habitats for NASA. But his private passion was even more ambitious, understanding what he called anomalous phenomena. He believed humanity's next great discovery wouldn't come from the stars, but from the gaps in our own reality. Within months, Bigelow purchased Skinwalker Ranch for $200,000 and placed it under round-the-clock surveillance. He assembled the National Institute for Discovery Science, or NIDS. The team included physicists, biologists, and former military intelligence officers. Their mission: to observe, document, and, if possible, explain the anomalies. NIDS established guard posts, motion sensors, infrared cameras. They set up observation trailers and collected tissue samples from mutilated cattle. Yet despite all the equipment, their results remained stubbornly elusive. Cameras would fail moments before phenomena occurred. Hard drives corrupted overnight. Batteries died the instant orbs appeared. Dr. Colum Kelleher, one of NIDS biochemists, later wrote that the ranch seemed to respond to attention. The more they tried to observe it, the quieter it became, until suddenly, explosively, it didn't. In one documented incident, 2 investigators reported a glowing orange portal hovering above a pasture. Through night vision goggles, one claimed to see a dark humanoid figure crawl out, drop to the ground, and run into the darkness. The soil beneath showed a perfect circular depression, no footprints leading away. Another night, an entire herd of cattle disappeared from a locked corral. Hours later, they were found crammed together inside a tiny trailer half a mile away, alive but paralyzed with fear. Each encounter left the team divided. Was this alien? Interdimensional? Psychological? Or something that used human perception itself as camouflage? Whatever it was, the attention from NIDS turned Skinwalker Ranch from folklore into case study, and from rural mystery into classified curiosity. In 2007, word leaked that the Pentagon had quietly funded a secret program to study unidentified aerial phenomena. Its name, AATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, and the project's largest subcontractor. Robert Bigelow's aerospace company, through Bigelow, taxpayer money flowed into research connected to Skinwalker Ranch. Documents later released under the Freedom of Information Act showed studies on exotic materials, warp drive concepts, and dimensional portals. To the public, it sounded like science fiction. To those inside, it was national security. When journalists from the New York Times broke the story in 2017, the world learned that the U.S. government had, for nearly a decade, been investigating UFOs, rebranded now as UAPS, Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. The Skinwalker data formed part of that foundation. According to insiders, the Defense Intelligence Agency funneled roughly $22 million into what became known as AAWSAP, the Advanced Aerospace Weapons Systems Applications Program, a cover for studies on the paranormal implications of UAPS. Under AAWSAP, Skinwalker Ranch served as a living laboratory. Former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, a Nevadan himself, helped secure the funding. He called it a matter of curiosity and concern. But for others within the intelligence community, it was a red flag. Why was the government pouring money into ghost stories and cattle mutilations? Skeptics argued that Bigelow's interest had turned government research into a personal fascination project. Supporters countered that the phenomena reported at the ranch, radiation spikes, magnetic anomalies, even biological effects on witnesses, could represent advanced technology not of human origin. Soon after AATIP was exposed, many of its contractors left public view. The ranch itself was sold again, this time to an anonymous shell company called Adamantium Holdings, LLC. Later, the owner revealed himself, Brandon Fugal, a Utah real estate tycoon and philanthropist with a taste for the esoteric. Under Fugal, the property was transformed into a state-of-the-art research base with cameras, radar arrays, and security perimeters. He opened the gates, sort of, to television, allowing the History Channel to film The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. Suddenly, the world could see inside the mystery. But critics argued that television only deepened the fog between science and spectacle. Still, one thing became clear. No matter who owned Skinwalker Ranch, its gravitational pull extended into the deepest corners of the state. Military, intelligence, aerospace, and corporate power, all orbiting a plot of land barely half a mile wide. Some researchers propose that Skinwalker Ranch acts as a natural interdimensional window, a geological or magnetic anomaly where space-time thins. Others suggest that it was the site of ancient rituals that anchored non-human entities to the terrain. Skeptics point instead to psychological and social contagion. Once a place earns a reputation for the paranormal, every light in the sky becomes proof. Yet the government's continued interest keeps the conspiracy alive. If it's all nonsense, why the security clearances? Why the funding? Why the missing data sets still classified today? In those questions lies the broken truth of Skinwalker Ranch, that between skepticism and belief exists a vacuum the powerful are content to leave unfilled. By 2016, the ranch had passed into the hands of a new owner, Brandon Fugal, a Utah real estate magnate with a fascination for frontier science. Fugal had heard the rumors since childhood: glowing skies, mutilated cattle, men in black SUVs on dirt roads. But when he saw the classified data Bigelow left behind, radiation bursts, magnetic anomalies, GPS distortions, he knew this wasn't just folklore. It was an unsolved data set. Determined to strip away myth, Fugal invested millions. He sealed the perimeter with cameras, drones, ground sensors, and high-frequency radar. Former military and PhD-level experts joined the effort. Astrophysicist Dr. Travis Taylor, engineer Eric Bard, and security chief Thomas Winterton. Their mission mirrored that of NIDS, but with 21st century precision. Document everything. Explain nothing until the data demanded it. Each experiment unfolded like a movie sequence. They launched rockets through anomalous zones, only for telemetry to vanish mid-air. They drilled into the earth to collect soil samples and triggered sudden spikes of gamma radiation. One investigator collapsed with facial swelling, his scalp burning from the inside out. Radiation detectors flatlined seconds later. When they aimed LiDAR scans at the mesa wall, a mirrored void appeared. An absence of reflection, as if the scanner were hitting empty space. Taylor called it a potential void in the data field, his scientific way of saying, something's there, but we can't see it. The team grew cautious. Fugal ordered biomonitoring for everyone entering the property. They logged sleep disturbances, nosebleeds, nausea. Animals refused to graze certain pastures. GPS devices spun without moving. The ranch, it seemed, fought back. For television audiences, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch framed it as entertainment, scientists versus the supernatural. But beneath the camera-ready moments, data continued to accumulate. Magnetic flux at ground level sometimes measured double the surrounding region. Atmospheric ionization spiked randomly, as if invisible waves pulsed through the valley. Fugal's team uploaded terabytes of recordings, many still unreleased. When journalists asked whether they'd proven anything, he smiled. Proven. Sorry to interrupt your regularly scheduled podcast, but this episode is brought to you by the Broken Truth merch. Support the show. Wear the truth. Official Broken Truth podcast merch is live now. Links in the description. And since you've made it this far in the episode, comment hashtag Broken Truth and leave us a 5-star review on your favorite platform. Because when you speak up, the algorithm listens. And so does the world. But we have ruled out everything ordinary. Science thrives on repetition. The same result under the same conditions. Skinwalker Ranch refuses to play by those rules. Phenomena appear only when unobserved, disappear when studied. Instruments fail precisely when readings matter most. To physicists, that suggests measurement error. To philosophers, it suggests the phenomenon is self-aware. Dr. Taylor once remarked, "It's almost as if the ranch knows when we're watching." That comment ignited debate across forums. Could consciousness itself be entangled with the anomaly? Quantum theorists cited the observer effect, the idea that observation changes reality. Maybe the ranch wasn't haunted. Maybe it was responsive. Skeptics countered with psychology. Prolonged isolation, expectation, and sensory deprivation can prime groups for collective misinterpretation. The ranch becomes a canvas for fear. Yet even skeptics admit the empirical oddities. EM spikes, radiation bursts, missing time on synchronized watches. Demand explanation. Every reading led to another contradiction. High radiation without ionization damage. Electromagnetic surges without source. Sound frequencies beyond human hearing recorded deep underground. The data told a story, but not in a language anyone could read. By 2023, the team had amassed what may be the most extensive, continuous surveillance of any private property in the world. Thousands of hours of footage, dozens of scientific papers in draft form. And still, no definitive answer. Just a pattern. Curiosity followed by retaliation. Look too hard, and the ranch looks back. As data piled up without resolution, speculation filled the void. What exactly lurked beneath those mesas? 5 primary theories emerged, each with champions and critics, each as strange as the next. The first theory claims Skinwalker Ranch sits atop an intersection of dimensions, a natural gateway between realities. Supporters point to the 1996 Orange Portal incident witnessed through night vision. They argue that certain electromagnetic frequencies could thin the veil between planes. Physicists outside the project scoff, yet quantum models of multiverse topology leave room for localized anomalies. If true, the ranch might not be haunted by entities, but by travelers. Indigenous stories echo this. The Ute warned outsiders that a path ran through the Basin where spirits cross from one world to another. In the scientific age, we call that a wormhole. In myth, it was the hunting ground of the Skinwalker. Another camp believes the ranch conceals residual technology from non-human intelligence, perhaps a crash site predating Roswell. Soil scans reveal trace metals not native to the region. Satellite imagery shows subsurface voids shaped like corridors. Some claim the magnetic fields resemble those generated by high-energy propulsion systems. No physical craft has ever been recovered, at least none shared publicly. But Defense Intelligence reports list the ranch among several points of interest for advanced aerospace material retrieval. A third hypothesis reframes the phenomenon as psychological. According to this model, the ranch's geology, high concentrations of magnetite and thorium, might influence brainwave activity, creating hallucinations or heightened perception. Experiments show magnetic stimulation of the temporal lobe can induce sensed presences. Perhaps Skinwalker's power lies not above or below, but inside the observer's own mind. If that's true, then every witness contributes to the haunting. The ranch becomes a mirror of belief itself, a neurological echo chamber where expectation shapes experience. Skeptics of the paranormal see something simpler and darker. The ranch sits between 2 major test ranges used by the U.S. Air Force. In the Cold War era, both conventional and psychological operations were rumored to take place across the basin. What if Skinwalker Ranch was never supernatural, but experimental? A site for prototype aircraft, directed energy weapons, or crowd behavior studies cloaked behind superstition? Former security contractors whisper about unmarked helicopters and radar jamming. Declassified documents mention Utah test zones linked to electromagnetic propagation research. If the phenomena were human-made, the myth served its purpose. No one investigates what they fear. The most radical theory merges physics with mysticism. It proposes the ranch functions as an interface between consciousness and environment, a feedback loop amplifying human emotion into physical manifestation. Fear creates energy. Belief shapes form. The land becomes a living consciousness, reflecting the observer. In this view, the glowing orbs are not visitors, but projections, our collective mind made visible. Sound absurd? Consider this. When researchers maintained emotional neutrality, activity decreased. When they engaged with intent, asking aloud for a sign, responses spiked. Correlation is not proof, but the pattern is undeniable. Every generation rewrites the story of Skinwalker Ranch to fit its fears. For pioneers, it was cursed land. For Cold War scientists, a potential weapons lab. For today's technologists, a test of quantum reality. Yet all versions share one truth: humanity's inability to tolerate the unknown. Perhaps that's the real experiment. Not what hides in the sky, but what we reveal about ourselves when faced with the impossible. In 2024, new satellite readings showed bursts of ionizing radiation forming geometric shapes above the mesa: triangles, cubes, spheres, lasting less than a second. Skeptics called it instrumentation error. Believers saw patterns, messages, maybe maps. The debate rages, as it always will, because Skinwalker Ranch refuses closure. Bigelow's files remain sealed. Fugal's data remains proprietary. Government reports remain redacted. For a place so heavily studied, Skinwalker Ranch tells us almost nothing, except that truth can hide in plain sight under layers of classification, myth, and fear. Maybe the real phenomenon isn't the orbs or portals, but the machinery of secrecy itself. Once the public believes something is unknowable, investigation stops. And in that silence, power thrives. Today, Skinwalker Ranch stands not only as a location, but as a symbol. A cultural mirror reflecting how humanity wrestles with mystery in the age of data. Each generation has filmed, written, and speculated about the property. It inspired books, podcasts, documentaries, memes, and pilgrimages. The once quiet valley has become a theater for both science and storytelling. In 2019, when The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch premiered on television, millions watched scientists chase anomalies through infrared cameras and drilling rigs. Viewers debated every flare of light as proof or hoax. Ratings soared. The ranch became a household name, a pop culture Roswell. For skeptics, this was proof of our obsession with fear. For believers, proof that disclosure had begun. For the ranch's own team, it was both validation and curse. The more famous the site became, the harder it was to separate evidence from entertainment. Sociologists studying the phenomenon call it the feedback loop of belief. A story gains attention, attention amplifies interpretation, interpretation reshapes the story. Each viral clip, each forum thread, recharges the legend. Skinwalker Ranch thrives because it offers everyone what they need. The skeptic gets a puzzle. The believer gets a sanctuary. The government gets plausible deniability. The media gets spectacle. Somewhere in that circle may lie the real truth. But like the orbs themselves, it disappears the moment we reach for it. The ranch's power isn't measured in radiation or magnetic fields. It's measured in imagination. Every new episode, every Reddit post, every late-night discussion keeps the portal open in our collective psyche. The Navajo once said that words themselves are spells. Speaking a thing gives it life. In that sense, the Skinwalker legend has transcended geography. It no longer belongs to Utah. It lives online, in the circuitry of modern folklore. UFO disclosure hearings in Congress reference it. Scientists debate its data. Filmmakers use its imagery. It has become a bridge between disciplines, between the measurable and the mythical. Maybe that's what makes Skinwalker Ranch different. It's no longer just about whether portals exist. It's about why we need them to. If you stand at the ranch fence today, you'll see motion sensors blinking in the dark, cameras tracing the stars, and guards watching the horizon. Yet above it all, the Uintah sky stretches wide and silent. The same sky the tribes once prayed to, the same one the Shermans feared, the same one the scientists still question. Some nights lights do appear, silent, drifting, weightless. They fade before anyone can capture them. Maybe they're drones, maybe plasma, maybe something older than both. Whatever they are, they remind us that mystery still survives in a world desperate to explain everything. In the end, Skinwalker Ranch might not be a portal between worlds, but between eras. A boundary where ancient myth meets modern technology. A story our ancestors would have told around the fire, now told through fiber optic cable, from tribal legends to classified programs, from cattle mutilations to congressional hearings. The story of Skinwalker Ranch spans every corner of human curiosity. And still, it refuses an ending. Because maybe the truth isn't meant to be found, only followed. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your mind sharp, and remember, the truth isn't whole, it's broken.
In a world built on hidden histories and half-truths, we've only just begun to peel back the layers. Because what you've heard tonight was never meant to be known, but you were meant to find it. If you're ready to go deeper, leave us a review, comment your thoughts, share this episode, and step inside the archives. Join the inner circle, where the real evidence is kept. This is the broken truth, because the truth isn't whole, it's broken.